Perseverance is the story of resilience based on the personal lived experiences we all endure. For Josh Perry, he helps people optimize their mental and physical health and performance so that they can design their ideal lives free of baggage and achieve the success they desire. He's a health coach and optimization strategist and a former BMX athlete and multiple brain tumor survivor who took a chance on his dream. Upon making it, a TBI saved his life and discovered his first brain tumor unknowingly. Perry joined me this week to discuss optimizing your life, overcoming obstacles, and how he used his own personal experience to help others live the life they intended and want to live. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Take a moment to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to dive into your inspiring life journey. Great to see you this morning, and thank you so very much for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome, and it's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Josh, I want to dive right into your story. I know that when you were younger, you experienced some financial struggles, some injuries, and you dropped out of high school, but you turned that all around and become one of the top BMX athletes around. So I'm wondering if you can tell me all about your great story, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, it started out as a childhood dream. You know, I saw the people on TV and competing, and I realized, I can make a living at this. So I decided, with the support of my parents, to, long story short, drop out of high school and move from Massachusetts down to North Carolina to be with literally my heroes that I watched on TV and had posters up on my walls of. And throughout that journey, I learned a lot, and I ultimately, realized that dream of becoming an established professional BMX athlete, and learned through various hardships and adversities, the courage and strength that I possessed. And I guess some pivotal moments that happened was, 3 years into my professional career, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor on accident that came from an MRI from a concussion. And that was the moment I refer to as like my wake-up call in life that taught me how to audit, my life, how the decisions I was making consciously and unconsciously, and the results I was seeing in my life. And, going through that health adversity, it really put me on the path of learning how to optimize my health mentally, physically, inside and out. And it put me on the path I am today, which is a health coach and a speaker, and working on putting my first book out. And it ultimately led me away from my original dream to become a professional BMX athlete onto this new dream of, doing the things I do today to provide other people with the tools that I learned the hard way. And it's my mission to help people empower themselves with the perspective of being proactive rather than reacting to a situation, as I've learned through the various challenges in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. And Josh, I'm wondering if that experience helps you to form some life principles that you live your life by today. I'm curious.
Yeah, I think three of the main principles I live my life by today, that first brain tumor diagnosis in 2010 in the surgery, it taught me three very important things. Number one, health is internal. It's not what's on the outside. And I learned that through a lot of the doctors judging me by the cover, of my external health. And meanwhile, I had something internally going on. So that was the first thing I learned, is health is actually internal. And what we choose to put in our bodies is, creating that health or declined health. Number two, perspective is essential to every aspect of life. You know, the lens in which you choose consciously or unconsciously to view your life and the lives or the life that you're leading and where that's going, that has a tremendous influence over how you show up and the choices that you interact with. So perspective is essential. That's number two. And number three is I've learned through all of those things that our reality is just a manifestation of our choices that we make. Again, consciously and unconsciously, it's all building the reality that we experience uniquely to ourselves. And starting with health being internal and the choices we make to consume certain foods or beverages or even content, various different forms, creates different mechanisms in the body to be triggered in certain ways, and it creates health or declined health. And then perspective, you know, how we choose to see the world, the lens in which we choose to see our lives and the world at large, that all combines into the choices we make, which creates the reality that we live in. And so those are the three biggest, I'd say the most profound lessons I learned the hard way through a brain tumor diagnosis, just to start off this path I'm on today. And that was 12 years ago.
Well, yeah, you're making strides in that area for sure, and I know that you help people sort of optimize their mental and physical performance to live their optimal life free of baggage. So I'm wondering if you can tell me about the professional pivot and how you help people optimize their lifestyles, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. That's my favorite thing to do and talk about today. And it started in 2017, February 2017 to be specific. I received my third brain tumor diagnosis, and that's what ultimately led me away from competing professionally and going on this journey to discover, how I wanted to give back and how I wanted to support other people and contribute to society. And I wanted to do that in a way that was helping people optimize their health the way I had learned to do so. And so I started a health coaching business, and that just continued to progress. And then the physical attribute came into into my conscious awareness after blowing out my knee and really understanding exercise is more than just being in shape or looking good. It's more to do with all these mental and physical components. And so that led into down the road learning about mindset and how important it is to consider our perspective and the programming we have and the subconscious belief structures and all these different components of the mental aspect of our personality and our belief structures. And so I put all these things together to create my program that I run my clients through individually or in a group setting. And I just love helping people understand their psychology and the programming in terms of the words they speak, the thoughts they give energy to, and how all that influences the behavior, the choices they give energy into, and then how all of that creates the reality of the experience, whether it be with their health, their relationships, with their career, or just their fulfillment at large. And so I take that holistic approach very serious of treating the human being as a holistic individual and considering things that are internal, that are external, their environments internally and externally, so to speak. But things like, that many of us don't consider is our workspace, our, relationships, and how all of that contributes to our health one way or another. And it's just my passion to help people start building that foundation to get the ground laid. And then from there, we can optimize to the next level, depending on where the individual wants to go. And I use the lens of my life and what I've learned to be able to share that experience. So really connect with people and say, hey, I may not understand exactly what you're going through, but on the larger spectrum as a human being and those emotions that are attached to it, I understand in my own way. And that develops a sense of trust with the client. And it allows us to create a safe space to progress forward without having judgment or any negative, things attached to it. And ultimately that creates the best opportunity from my experience to help someone create their ideal lives in the reality they want to experience without the baggage that's been, holding them back being present anymore.
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. And based on your personal and professional experience, Josh, I'm curious to ask you about how you view overcoming adversity and coming out the other side to persevere.
Yeah, so I think that comes back to our perspective. And, from my experiences, I had something like BMX that was driving or was fueling my drive to overcome any circumstance I found myself in, whether it was the brain tumor, it was an injury, it was financial, it was a relationship. It was creating this vision for my ideal life and pursuing the path that was congruent to that vision. So it didn't matter what adversity I found myself in, that circumstance. What helped me was that vision I was so focused on, because it's often, painful in these circumstances, and it's easy to see how we lose sight of that vision. And what I found in my own personal experience was being super clear and focused on that vision was what helped me propel beyond those circumstances to ultimately get back on track to be successful my own way that I deemed success, or I defined success. And it came back to that vision and my auditing of my actions and my thoughts and how I was living my life, and ask myself, is this congruent to that vision? And there's been a lot of painful circumstances I've been in, that I put myself in for the sport I love to do. And then other things that happened, one would say happened to me that I had no control over. I didn't put myself in that situation, but it happened. And ultimately what I've learned from all of these experiences is when we have such a vision that we're focused on, that's going to be what fuels us past our circumstances. And what we focus on is what expands. And that's been a big belief structure in my life. And I take all these learnings and I help my clients and I help myself. It's the daily practice. As long as you're a human being, you're constantly doing the work, so to speak. And it's just gotten to the point now where I've been able to audit my focus and what results I'm getting because of that focus, and then learning how to pivot. And that's what I love helping people do, is become aware as like a third party, non-biased to the client's emotions, is to help them see objectively, like other people have helped me see objectively in my own life. Because again, it's easy to get, distorted of what's really going on when you're in it, so to speak, and it's painful, which oftentimes it is in various different emotional levels and, psychological and spiritual levels and physical levels. But ultimately what it comes back to is, what ultimately do you want to be true for your life? And what do you want to experience? And then how can you make that happen? And it's easier said than done, but that focus on those types of questions is what I find has empowered me and the people I work with to, go beyond the adversity and that circumstance, no matter how painful it is. At the end of the day, it's working towards something. It's not running away from something. And that's a big fundamental in my coaching practice and what I love speaking about.
Yeah, 100%. And you talk about overcoming adversity, Josh. I was born with what's called spastic quadriplegia cerebral palsy, and part of my professional background and what I do outside of hosting this podcast is helping individuals with a large assortment of disabilities find and maintain employment. So I'm curious, because I live my life through the saying that inclusion is the gateway to independence. So I'm curious, as it comes to societal life and employment for individuals with disabilities, how do you define diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I don't know. I never really thought of that question in that way. So my perspective on that is ignorant to some degree, but I see life as, everyone has their own unique strengths and weaknesses, and I see life as happening for us, not to us. So, to include a wide diversity of people, I think is very important, because, I look at my background in school and I didn't learn the same way as other kids. And I was, punished for that in various different manners, with the school and different things like that. And, at the end of the day, I believe we all have our own unique stories, our own unique strengths, and to exclude certain people from certain conversations or places in the workspace, I think it limits the potential for people to excel and to inspire other people. And so I have a firm belief that, everyone has their own unique voice and their own unique strengths. And it doesn't make sense to me on a human level to exclude other people because they may be different in one way or another, because what I found is my differences is what helped me stand out and inspire other people along the way. And like, I see that with yourself, you took something that many people could see as a hindrance to their lives, and you've chosen to empower yourself and help empower other people. So I don't know if that answers the question as you asked it, but that's just kind of what comes to mind for me is, we all have our own uniqueness, and to say one person doesn't fit the mold is, I think, what helped, or what was the challenge for me that helped me understand my uniqueness, and then how we can collaborate together to help bring other people up and ultimately create a environment that includes everyone in their own different ways.
Yeah, 100%. And leads into your life model, buddy. They tell me that you are on a mission and that you believe that people are more than their circumstances. So I'm wondering if you can explain your life motto to me as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I speaking from my own experience and then now working with other people throughout the years, we tend to think we are or believe that we are our thoughts. We tend to believe we are our emotions. We are our circumstances, whether that be a disability, that be a disease, that be, finances, that be education, whatever it is. We tend to believe we are what our current circumstances. And then that goes back to my belief about how having a strong vision for your ideal life can help you, go beyond all of that. And so it's my mission to help people see beyond their circumstances by helping them get clear on what it is they want their life to be, what they want to be true about themselves and their realities as a whole. Because when you focus on the things that, fuel you positively, so to speak, then you'll start to see opportunities show up in terms of how you can take action to create even 1% closer towards that life. And so when it comes to seeing beyond circumstances, I've learned in a very painful way, in various different manners, of how we can lose track of our vision, and we can be consumed by our current circumstances. But at the end of the day, that just puts us further into that hole that we don't want to be in. But what helps us, in my perspective and my own experiences, is having such a clear vision on your ideal life and that version of yourself that can help you see beyond your circumstances. Because again, I've been in tremendous amounts of pain that I don't think the average person would ever be able to fathom being in that type of physical pain, especially for something I love to do and repeat it every year. And it's that foundation that BMX helped me build of, you're so focused on this trick or this contest, and it doesn't matter what you're going through right now. As long as you keep sight of that, you'll find a way to be successful. And it speaks volumes to the phrase, if there's a will, there's a way. And to me, that just shines as there's a will, there's a focus, there's an intention, and then the path unfolds. And another piece to that is surrendering to the unknown of the possibilities that could manifest that what you want. And I find that we get so attached to having things happen the way we want, or having the things that we say we want. In actuality, there's this gray area of life that is just, if you surrender with the intention and the focus really clear, things that you could have never even written up that would be a positive can unfold for you. So it's important for me to be able to share my story, and people like yourself share your story, so we can help other people see beyond the current circumstances as maybe the victim role of life happening to me rather than for me. Because there's always a beautiful learning and message in our experiences. And it really just comes down to focus, and having people outside of us that maybe aren't going through what we're going through can help pull us out of that and see beyond and work towards that. And that's what I've dedicated my life to doing today, is helping people see beyond the circumstances to create the ideal life that they want to experience, no matter how painful their current reality is.
Yeah, absolutely. And Josh, I'm also curious to ask you about how all of your personal and professional experiences have sort of helped you mold your own professional and personal character. But what have you learned most about yourself from a growth perspective?
I think the number one thing that I've learned about myself through all these different things, personally and professionally, is the reason why I haven't touched my BMX bike in 2 years. I learned that something that was so positive and that propelled me through so much adversity also became my place of mastery and confidence that masked a lot of my insecurities. And then when I started to become more vulnerable and ask for help and have humility and things like that, I started to discover how insecure I was and how I always went back to my safety net that was BMX. And it was an identity I created through that thing that I excelled at. And so with that, I've just learned how to be more open, how to be more curious, to have more grace with myself, not judge myself so harshly and compare myself to other people, but really focus on, what is it that Josh wants to be true about himself and his life at large, and then how can we make that happen? And what I found is being authentic and vulnerable, those are our superpowers. And the more we get clear on the operating system that is our unconscious mind and our personality, the more we have a higher probability to create that life that we want. And so it doesn't matter what aspect of life you're looking at, it's really understanding your programming and getting clear and accepting you are a human being. You do have flaws, you do have insecurities, but the learnings that are in them can help you get past them and create a new life experience that is more, one would say, desirable than undesirable.
Yeah, 100%. And Josh, I'm curious to ask you, in your professional and personal opinion, how do you think we can bridge the societal divide of division today that exists in the world? I'm curious to get your answer.
The first thing that pops up in my mind is the fifth habit of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That book, I believe it's the fifth one. It's titled "First Seek to Understand, Then Be Understood." And I think having empathy and understanding people, where they're coming from, and creating a level playing field, so to speak, of a conversation, I think that's everything. Because we're so quick to judge other people based on our own autobiography of life, when in actuality it's like, hey, like you guys may be saying the same thing, but because you're trying to be heard and not understand where they're coming from, then that creates a challenge. So to answer your question again, it's just first seek to understand others and then be understood, because then you can create a cohesiveness to move forward and be able to include more people in the conversation. And ultimately, we all want the same thing in life. We all want to be healthy, we want to be happy, we want to feel fulfilled and contribute to society. And so when we can understand each other before trying to be understood, then we create a level playing field with empathy and curiosity. And then we realize we're all very similar in very profound ways. It just looks different on the outside. But when you actually open up with yourself, with other people, and you become curious with self or others, and take away the judgment and the emotional charge, then we all have a better probability of creating a society that works together rather than competes with one another.
Yeah, 100%. And Josh, I'm curious to know about the Gray Matters podcast. I know that you host your own podcast, so tell me what's it all about, buddy. I'm curious.
Yeah, so that started with my fiance Jackie and I 2 or 3 years ago. We wanted to create a podcast to have conversations with friends, family, strangers, whoever, to talk about the gray area of life. Especially with the last 2, 3 years, we've seen things become so polarized, so black or white. And there's this gray area in the middle that's context, and that's the stories behind the people and the events happening and how it came to be. It's not just one thing or the other. But it's also a play on words. The gray matter of our brain is very important. So we both have a passion for brain health, physically and mentally and energetically. So we took all of these things and we created the Gray Matters podcast to have conversations that were free of judgment, free of blame or shame, or anything. We just wanted to really open up the conversation to understand other people and where they're coming from, and ultimately share our stories as well, but just create that space to talk about the gray area of life that is context, from people of all walks of life, from all different areas and specialties, races, religions, and all these different things, and just open up that dialogue to help people understand one another and to see that we're all essentially working towards the same thing in life. And that is to, again, be fulfilled, be happy, be successful in our own ways, and be healthy. And to me, success, a big part of it is helping other people, contributing to other people's success along the way. It's not just, having the car or the house or the money. So it's, being successful to me means I'm helping other people. And so the Gray Matters podcast was a way for us to do what we could to reach more people around the world, but bring everyone together by storytelling and getting to understand the autobiography of that person to that point, and what they're passionate about, what they're interested in, and what really fuels them. And again, just have an open dialogue and see where it goes, and create that safe space for people to connect.
Yeah, 100%. And Josh, I'm curious. You live down there in the Sunshine State, Josh, and I have to tell you, I consider Florida to be my second home. So tell me, when you're not working, how do you define fun, buddy?
Yeah, so I just moved here in Florida back in June of 2021, and I spend a lot of my time golfing and going to the beach and things like that with our dog. And it's just something I love to do. And just being outside, it's always something I love to do. And so golf, the average round of golf is 4 hours or so. So you're just out in the sun, you're getting the vitamin D and you're moving your body. And it's just something I really enjoy to do. And I'm looking forward to learning new things like surfing and, adventuring out to new areas of life. And so far, I just love, seeing live music and, going golfing. It's been something that really fuels me, and I love and I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, fabulous. And tell me, how's your golf game there, Josh?
It's been improving. It's still the most challenging thing I think I've ever done in terms of a physical perspective. But that's what I think I love about it. It's the constant chase and the versatility. And it reminds me of BMX. You know, we compete on various different ramps and setups, and it's never the same. So you have to learn how to adapt. And I think that's a big fundamental in life that's helped me so much, is learning how to adapt in life. And so golf, it's the same thing. Like, you're never going to hit the same exact shot. You're never going to be landing the ball on the same surface, so to speak, at the same slope or angle. So it's just that constant chase to get that swing and make that contact that feels good, and put it on the green and make that putt or whatever. So it's just, I love the chase of it, and that that progression. We're all humans. We're wired to progress in life in various different ways. And that's my favorite thing about it. And so, I'm constantly learning how to improve and watching videos. I'm about to start getting lessons here soon. And I just really enjoy it. I enjoy that constant chase for progression with it.
Yeah, I'm always on the chase for better progress, for sure. But I'm also wondering, Josh, in your perspective, how did you sort of close the gap in terms of fulfilling yourself after you left your BMX career? Was it hard for you to give it up? I know you said you haven't looked at your BMX bike in over 2 years, but I'm curious, was it hard for you at all to give it up, and how did you feel that goal?
Yeah, it's extremely hard. And I didn't realize how depressed I was, and the imposter syndrome, how severe it was. And my fiance mentioned one day, she said, essentially you're breaking up with your first love in life. And it's actually a section or a chapter in my book that I've titled Breaking Up My First Love. And it's not what people may think. It's not a relationship. It was kind of was a relationship. It was a relationship with my bike. It was the first thing beyond my family and my friends that I developed a passion for, a love for. And so when I decided to leave it for, contributing to other people and service-based work, I didn't realize that it would be such a challenge. And so, what really helped me was making sense of my past, was a journey of being on self and then getting led to being on purpose. And I've made sense of all the things I've gone through in my life, the various different challenges, health-wise and then otherwise, to make this purpose to help other people with what I've gone through. And that's the meaning of my life up till today that I've made sense of, is like, I've gone through what I've gone through, and I'm still here. I'm alive. I have friends and family that aren't alive anymore. And there's a reason for that. And I made up the meaning for that. And that reason is to help other people. And that's what I've dedicated my life to doing, with, having conversations like this, my coaching practice, speaking, writing. That's what helps fill that void. And golf has been a big help to that void that BMX, was leaving in me. It was just a combination of being on purpose to help serve society at large, and then finding other things that gave me that same satisfaction of, trying something and progressing with something and getting better and excelling, because then that helps me in so many other avenues. And that's a big thing I'm an advocate for, is finding things you're passionate about in life that fulfill you. Because when you pursue the things you enjoy in life, which I had parents that supported my dream, that pursuit, it led me to learning so many things about myself, and ultimately opening me up to other passions, which I've turned those passions into a business the same way I turned my passion of BMX into a business and a career. So yeah, it was a lot of, identity crisis, imposter syndrome, literally feeling depressed because I wasn't doing that thing that brought me joy anymore. But then I ultimately realized that going back and doing that thing wasn't helping me progress in my life moving forward with my coaching practice and speaking and writing. And so I took that time off to really better myself inside and out. And it's led me to where I am today, and I'm super grateful for it. But ultimately, I had to go through those things, and BMX served its purpose. But ultimately, what helped me was making sense of what BMX did for me and allowed me to do, and allowed me to learn about myself and get onto the path I am today. So I've made sense of it, and I've appreciated. I have nothing but love and gratitude for what my bike did for me in my life. Literally saved my life and figuratively saved my life, but also put me on the path today, pursuing something I'm so passionate about. And that's having conversations like this with my clients, and really ultimately helping people. Even if I can help someone change their perspective on their life in one way, that's the first domino in my mind. Then the rest continue to fall, because you become aware of things that you're not happy with, and then you become aware of how you could change them. And it's usually a lot simpler than we make it. And I've learned that it doesn't always have to be complex. It may just be asking help from someone, and then, you're on the path. So that's what I found fulfilling today is, it's helped me. It's making sense of my past, and then putting that energy and focus into something that's service-based, because that's ultimately what makes me feel fulfilled.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads me to my final question, Josh. When you look at your life, both personally and professionally, buddy, I'm curious, when you look at your own legacy, how do you want that to be defined?
I want my life to be defined however people see it. I have no control over other people's perceptions. That's something I battled a lot with in terms of the identity piece of, leaving BMX and then going through imposter syndrome. So ultimately, I want what I want, but I can't control other people's perceptions. But what I would love to know is when people think of me, they think about, how much I've overcome and how I've taken all that to help contribute to other people's success, whether that be health, that be business, to be relationships. I just want to be known as someone that, did everything they could to make their reality or make their dream a reality and help other people succeed along the way. But again, I can't control other people's perceptions. So that's, I've surrendered to that belief of mine.
And Josh, tell me finally, if people want to get connected with you, buddy, what's the best way they can do that?
The best way to get connected with me is through my website, joshperrybmx.com. That's linked to all my social media. All my social media, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, it's all the same, Josh Perry BMX. But my website's like a good resource hub to find the podcast, my YouTube channel, anything like that.
Fantastic. Well, Josh, I have to tell you, I was thoroughly looking forward to our time together this morning and engaging in conversation about your interesting, dynamic, and fulfilling life. So I want to thank you for being here and for your work in the space. It's most appreciated.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And I appreciate the time and the opportunity to share as well. I was looking forward to this and I've really enjoyed myself. And so thank you again for, allowing the space to happen and for giving me the opportunity to share.